Welcome, everybody, to the Writer's Bridge. We are so glad to have you, and I know that you are glad to see a familiar face back with us, as well as two brand new awesome panelist faces who I know you are going to enjoy very much getting to know. We are here today to talk about saving our sanity with virtual assistants. And I know, like me, a lot of you are drowning in your to-do list. You might be looking around going, I've been building platform, but what has happened to all of my writing time? And it might be time for a virtual assistant. So tonight we're going to talk about how writers can hire and use help, whether that is a virtual assistant, an intern, even your kid, your niece, whoever you can recruit in to help you, and what to delegate. And if you can't delegate, we're also going to talk a little bit about what you can automate and what you can just plain get rid of. And near the end of the episode, we're also each going to tell you our #1 secret for getting more work done faster that you can all do on your own today. So welcome. And before we dive into our main episode, let me also mention that our Express Lane members have been working on some really fun stuff in the past couple of weeks. It has all been about reaching the audience in a more relaxed way. I did 5 tips on better selfies that I actually shot in Tuscany last week. And Ashley has been doing some great stuff about segmenting your audience to make sure you are speaking clearly and to the right people, because you don't have to talk to everybody. You only need to talk to the people who are your people. If you want to get on the Express Lane, you can check it out at thewritersbridge.com/express lane. And my iPad is doing a weird scrolly thing where it does not want to scroll. There we go. Our fabulous panel this week has our very own Ashley Renard. You know her, you love her. Ashley, what have you been doing the past few months while you have been on sabbatical from the Writer's Bridge?
Well, I have been figuring out, with Lauren at my side, what kind of offers I want to invite my audience of couples who want to keep it hot and want to expand their connection inside and outside the bedroom, figuring out what kind of offers they want from me and what really feels aligned. So I've been trying a lot of different things. The thing that really feels great right now is a Keeping It Hot couples retreat. And also I have had Swing optioned for a scripted series, and I'm under contract for an unscripted series, Keeping It Hot with Ashley Renard, sort of like a marriage fixer-upper show where I'm going to travel around. So all of these things are so exciting and incredibly terrifying. So having great support and staying rooted in how great projects that feel like they're in alignment feel inside of me, and what's just like nerves and what's a no. That's been a lot. That's what I've been dancing with the past few months.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And that is just amazing. And I want you all to know that Ashley does not necessarily have special magical powers. Ashley hustled her ass off to make all of this happen. And one of the things that helps her hustle is a virtual assistant. So first, I'm actually going to introduce my virtual assistant. Claudia Rapp is an administrative and creative virtual assistant. She's based in New Zealand. It is 6 in the morning tomorrow, her time, but she does work with clients worldwide. She's a mother to 2 young boys, so if she's not working, she's cleaning, taking care of the kids, or drinking a whole lot of coffee. And Claudia also has her current books open for new clients anywhere from 5 to 15 hours a month, and we will provide you with a link to Claudia's services. She and I have also schemed, and she is also offering a couple of one-off options where she can help you set up your workflow, or she can help you automate things so that life is easier even if you don't have a full-on virtual assistant. Claudia, how did you become a virtual assistant? What made you say, I want to take people like Allison's neuroses and make their lives easier?
Yes, hi from New Zealand, everyone. The sun hasn't even risen yet, so that's nice. Well, originally it did start when I was made redundant last year, and I jumped into the pool of owning your own business and trusting yourself. And yeah, it all started from there. It was something that sort of made sense from my experience, my knowledge, my background. and it's been going great. And I've met lovely people like Alison who were all a bit crazy, so it's fine. And yeah, it's been probably the best thing I've ever done for my professional life and my personal life, really. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And one of the things I've always said to anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, if you are a hard worker, you might as well work for yourself and get all the benefit, because you're never going to work any less hard for anybody else. Let me turn over to Lauren, who is Ashley's virtual assistant. Lauren Petralia is a New Jersey born and raised corporate world escapee with a background in healthcare. After finding herself and marrying her loving, supportive wife, yay, Lauren knew she also had to find herself in her career, and she discovered that she could help clients with her determination, accommodation, and resourcefulness. She helps streamline daunting management tasks for burnt out business owners so that they can have more free time and the drive to finally scale the results they have been waiting for. Lauren, what started your journey to being a virtual assistant?
That's such a good question. And I feel like I don't actually bring it up that much. First, I think me and Ashley have like the same undergrad. So there's that. But also when I went into work, I think since I was like 12, I knew I was supposed to work a 9 to 5. So like I never had the entrepreneur mindset at all. But basically what happened in short was I was overworked. I was burnt out. I was traveling pretty far for work, extended hours, not normal hours. And I just felt like I didn't have enough time for myself or my family. And some other things happened in that space that caused some like other health issues. So I kind of had to take a break and a step back. And I gave it another try and I was like, this is not working. So I ended up doing my own thing and I took a course to become a virtual assistant. And that's where I found Ashley. I want to say I was about like 6 months into being a virtual assistant where I got Ashley. So I was very, very blessed and very excited.
Lucky me. Lucky me.
What made you realize, Ashley, that you needed a virtual assistant?
Yeah, so Lauren is my second virtual assistant. I hired my niece, Gina, and I think some of you who have been around here in Writers Bridge for a while know I hired her when Swing was coming out, specifically because I was doing a pre-order incentive and I didn't have anything automated. I just had people emailing their order screenshots when they pre-ordered Swing, and then they would get through Google Drive a link to the audiobook. Okay, all like very low tech. So I've done it very scrappy, sort of like C student, let's just put it together. I knew that I wouldn't be able to handle all of those emails myself, and I would like to bring someone in. With bringing Lauren on board, I've been able to expand to Lauren handling billing questions, customer service, making decisions about what kind of refund someone should get based on how long they've been part of a paid newsletter. And having an assistant who understands your values and understands the needs of the audience, which Lauren just picked that up really, really quickly, is such a gift, because when she makes decisions, it keeps that whole section of my brain from needing to be activated that day if I'm trying to work out a new creative solution or trying to tap into inspiration.
I love that. I had previously had live assistants. I had had interns when I was running my circus company. Go get the coffee, learn the coffee order, bring back the coffee, bring it in time. I had also had assistants who handled household tasks like errands or grocery shopping. And one of the things I discovered was when I send the assistant to the grocery store, I actually came out ahead because she only buys what's on the list, as opposed to when I go to the grocery store and I spend more than I would pay the assistant on buying stuff that's not on the list. So I really wanted my work to run more smoothly. I really wanted to offload a bunch of social media stuff, a bunch of newsletter stuff, just so that I could grow and so that I could stay focused on big picture rather than on small picture. Claudia and Lauren, what kind of things do you do that make your job easier? Maybe even some things that people without assistance could do for themselves. Like, what makes your workflow faster and smoother?
So to be honest, for me, on my back end, I actually don't have a ton of things automated besides my invoices. I'm just pretty small right now, so I can get away with that. I would say, like, for me personally, my biggest thing is like block scheduling. Like everything that I do is like scheduled. Even if sometimes it's not, like, I know what my day looks like. The only time that ever gets like a little rattled is if I'm bringing new clients on, and like that's normal to readjust. There's usually a 1 to 3 month adjustment period, but usually as far as like a new schedule in place, I get that down within the first week. So just having a time for everything and having that planned out is super helpful. So that way I don't fall behind, even if things seem overwhelming.
Claudia, how about you? How do you get so much done? What makes your job easier?
That's a great question. I would say same as Lauren, is that time blocking is just essential. I rely on my calendar. It is my best friend. But also a task/project management system. There are so many. There's ClickUp, there's Trello, there's whatever else. And it's just so essential to know exactly what you've got on that month, that week, that day, and to be able to tick it off as you do it. And yeah, that runs my whole business. If I didn't have that, I would be very lost. So
And I think too, for me, something that really helps is doing stuff in batches. Like rather than just, okay, here's the list, I will do all the things on the list. Here are all the things I need to do for my newsletter. I'm going to spend 2 hours just focused on newsletter. Okay, the next hour is just Facebook, and not bouncing between tasks helps me accomplish more. Ashley, what kind of stuff do you do that helps you get more done?
Absolutely. Allison, I completely agree. I have been a pantser in life, just, express lane, doing it right before it has to go out. One of the struggles I've had, and I want to say this to everyone who's on the call right now, one of the struggles I've had working with an assistant is I have to get more organized and I can do fewer things at the last minute, which bumps up against my resistance a bit because I feel like the last minute is my best minute. But also it's a bit of a pattern and conditioning that even if there's nothing to be anxious about, I time my tasks in a way that will bring on that hit of cortisol and that anxiety that I'm so used to. So working and planning ahead and working with an assistant has forced me to batch things when I normally wouldn't. My niece Gina is still on my team as well. And what she does is she captions all of my videos. So I'll record about 6 to 12 videos in maybe an hour, 2-hour period. And then I pop them into a shared album that Gina will then caption. And Lauren knows once I post those to the platforms I post on, then she posts them to LinkedIn, Pinterest, Facebook, or YouTube Shorts. So it's like the batching helps so much. And I realize, there's a lot that's coming out about adult women with ADHD, right? And like the hyper focus that a lot of us have been praised for. But then the way that maybe we feel pulled away when we have distractions or notifications popping up. And I'm not sure if I actually fit that profile, but I've just been looking at that information and thinking about what ways do I work efficiently and joyfully with as little stress as possible. And batching is a way to do that. So getting things done ahead of time. Also, Loom is a godsend. Loom video recording. This saves me having to train Lauren on things, Lauren having to train Gina or whoever is going to be doing it at that time. Every time I do anything now that's new or a little something I'm trying to figure out, I do a Loom to screen record. And then I put it in a shared document that is clearly titled. So then if Lauren is doing that, looking for how to refund or adjust a subscription customer, which I swear WordPress changes it every day. Every time I go in, I feel like I have to go through different steps to find that dashboard. But Looms really help because it doesn't take additional time to train people. You just document your process. And then if the process is improved or adjusted, what Lauren will do is she'll make a new Loom for, oh, this is how we're doing it now, because we figured out an easier way to do it.
So Ashley, you and I are both control freaks, or as I like to think of it, people who do things correctly the first time. How do you delegate? How do you let go? And how do you course correct when something is not working? Like, have you ever popped a job onto one of your assistants and it just did not come back as you envisioned it?
Yes, it absolutely does. Getting really clear on what makes me feel safe and supported in a work environment. Honestly, working with a virtual assistant, I think helped me tap into things I didn't understand about my character and what I need to feel comfortable in relationships, period. So it's been so great. And to have an assistant you can talk to a lot about, wait, I'd like you to do it like this. It just makes me feel less nervous. And then it really helps. One of my key values is honesty. I love people really easily, but I can go from trust to distrust just as quickly. So one of the things that I told Lauren right at the beginning is, if you make a mistake, just tell me you made a mistake. Own up to it right away. I don't care. I coach figure skating. I myself would fall 40 times a day when I was training. Making a mistake doesn't bother me, but doing the wrong thing or like making an error and then trying to cover it up before I notice, that alarm bells go off. And I've actually fired 2 people since Lauren's been on my team. And every time I fire someone, I think she's like, oh gosh, things seemed so good last week. And yes, they were, but then that person was twisting the truth and not being honest. And I was like, we're done now, because letting someone into your work, your audience, your labors of love requires a great amount of trust that not only they're going to try to do a good job in the content they're making for you or with your audience, but that they really want to support you in your dreams. So having that understanding, having that trust, I think is the number one thing that makes, especially Lauren and I, our dynamic work really well.
Lauren, you want to respond to that?
I do, honestly. I have like 6 or 7 clients right now. I say 6 or 7 because I can't keep track of like what day it is or what's happening anymore. But Ashley has like my most hours. So what I say that meaning I've gotten to know her on like a quicker pace just because we're in more constant contact. And I have to say, Ashley, specifically from my government work till now, like actually even when I was like in college, just doing what I could get by, our connection work-wise is it just works. Like I can't explain it. It just goes so well. I get her, she gets me. Every time she tells me something that's going on, I'm so excited to support her. There's just like, it just flows. And I think a lot of it is what Ashley said, which is that having someone like that kind of makes you look inward and see like why you're responding to things a certain way. And me and her have these kind of talks like in the middle of our work talk all the time. So there's just kind of this constant inner growth along with the professional growth. And it's just mind blowing. So to go bounce off what she said with honesty being a big thing, I never had a trouble being honest, but I would get really scared if I made a mistake in government because like you were on the, like, not like they weren't going to fire you, but they made it seem like they were going to fire you. So I always had this just like fear, but Ashley has allowed me to come to terms with like being a mistake doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you made a mistake and we will fix it. So that's allowed a lot of internal growth, just that one piece alone on my end. It's just been so easy to admit, like, just be okay with making a mistake and fixing it.
Claudia, how do you build trust with clients? What do you do when you make a mistake? How do you get things going?
I think the honesty piece is so key, and just communication. It's so essential to just be letting each other know what's going on, what's happening, what's not working, what is working. So essential. Yeah.
One of the things that really helped me was getting over myself and remembering that Claudia is a full-grown adult professional, and me saying something direct to her is not going to devastate her. She wants to do her job well, and she can't if I don't say specifically, this is what I need, this is what I want. And a thing that has really helped me as far as actually delegating, because I don't know about you, but I had a really hard time letting go of my tasks. And this kind of ties into Steve's question in the chat. What does the agreement look like? Is it hours a week? Is it hours a month? Is it money per hour? So Claudia works on a retainer system. Right now we're on 15 hours a month because that's about what I've got for her. And because I have pre-purchased those 15 hours, I'm too cheap to let them go to waste. So I make a point of actually coming up with delegatable tasks, which I might not do if I was just paying by the hour. And so for me, that retainer system really works. Ashley, what other kind of systems have you seen? What kind of payment is involved? And I know Marisa has a question that she emailed in advance, which is she wants her niece to work for her, but she can't really afford to pay her niece. So how do we negotiate all this money stuff?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first off, there are options for internships where you could just offer like a nominal fee. If I say don't pay your interns, I know I'm going to get hate mail because people are like, pay your goddamn interns. So, but there are things that, maybe your niece needs volunteer hours for high school or for college, or, you just ask what is she wanting to gain from it? Is she wanting to be able to say, yeah, I'm proficient in Calendly and Zapier and MailChimp and all of these things, or, ask what she wants and then see how that aligns with what you need. Lauren, I think, has an hourly rate, but I don't know what it is because I do not pay people by the hour. If people can get their work done quickly for me, I'll pay them double. For me, it's not the number of hours that she's logged in, checking my social media or moderating my comments. And Lauren knows that if we've really pushed hard and we've been trying to figure out something that's tricky, I'll say, like, don't work late tomorrow, like take the day off or whatever. Because for me, it's more about intention. It's more about energy. It's more about having someone who is right there, like in the weeds with me to try to figure something out so that I don't feel alone and I don't back off and like turtle into a corner saying, okay, this is too hard. I can't do this because maybe we're bumping up against a tech issue. So I pay Lauren a certain amount each week. I actually pay her when she's on vacation as well, because that's just one of my things. Even though she's a contractor, that's what I do. My other contractor is on maternity leave for 6 months. I've been paying her full salary, but like that's just something that I want as I'm building my business to say, this is how I compensate my employees. And then also to see, Lauren may not work with me forever, and Gina may not work with me forever, and maybe they'll be running their own businesses. And just to give them a taste, like this is how you can balance the bottom line while still prioritizing the compensation for the people who are really making things happen with you.
I've paid for virtual assistants. I've paid everything from roughly $30 an hour up to roughly $70 an hour in US dollars. It's been nice to connect with Claudia, who bills in New Zealand dollars, which are actually worth a little less than US dollars. It's made her very affordable for me. And in fact, I told her, hey, you got to charge more money. And Claudia was brave enough to give herself a raise recently too. If you are looking for a good virtual assistant, someone who actually saves you that time and money, you probably want to pay somewhere between $25 and $50 or $60 an hour. If you're paying $10, $15 an hour, make sure that your tasks are really specific, because they may not be someone who has as much initiative or as much experience. Claudia and Lauren, what do you think about like pay scale and everything? Does how much we pay determine how good a job we get?
So the pay scale you mentioned is pretty accurate. What I was taught and what I've implemented is that like baby VAs, like brand new, like just starting out, like very little to no experience, get 25. And then as that experience and that like initiative gets combined, it goes up. So the pay scale really just depends on the contractor and what they think that they are worth, depending on what they bring to the table. What Ashley is like, I know she doesn't go by hour, but what she pays me is like what my rate is currently. And it's perfect. And honestly, like I said, like the relationship we have, like I'm more than content with how we do things. And I do get paid when I'm off, which is actually really helpful, because a lot of the other clients I have, they're more of like a lower hour per month. So I will just like cram essentially, like if that makes sense. Like I will front load or back load my hours to make sure that like my pay isn't just like different that month. I try to keep it as consistent as possible, but yeah, the pay scale is pretty accurate. It just depends on what the contractor feels that they're able to bill. And a lot of the times from my experience, we have a really hard time giving ourselves raises. So it's really nice when someone like Ashley like is able to recognize your worth and it's just like, well, this is what you do and like this is what you're worth. And it's just nice to be able to be seen like that.
Claudia, what are your thoughts?
I would say, yeah, the pay scale is very accurate. I would also say that there's a lot to do with when VAs feel that they are being paid accurately, in line with their experience, value in general, that you are going to get, your work is going to be done better, probably. They're going to feel valued, so they're going to take initiative and, get down and dirty with you. And yeah, so I think, like, of course, you can find amazing VAs that are really cheap, but it would probably be like finding a needle in a haystack. But yeah, I think that pay scale was pretty accurate that you said, Alison. So yeah.
And one of the things that I learned was a long time ago, when I still lived in the US, I hired a housekeeper and I did the math because at the time I was making $50 to $100 an hour and I paid the housekeeper $25 an hour. So every hour I spent doing housework cost me $25 in lost income, because I wasn't spending that time doing the job that I get paid very well to do. So if I can do 3 hours of editing instead of 3 hours of social media, I have more than paid for the assistant for that month. So have a really clear idea of what are you going to do with the time that you free up? Do you need that time to write? Do you need that time to generate income? Both of those things are really valid. So think about, if you are able to offload some stuff, how are you going to spend that wonderful time? Ashley, do you want to add anything in there?
Yeah, and I would also love to answer Kimberly's question in the chat too. Would love to hear a discussion of what a typical week looks like. And Lauren has a really set schedule for when she goes into my DMs and comments and things like that. One of the things that I've had to figure out bringing in a team to support me is when they are working and taking things off my plate, I do not need to run myself into the ground doing something else. And that's been hard for me to learn. What I love now is I have been getting outside more, hiking or walking almost every day. At least once a week, I do the full 6 miles around the lake at my house, which means like it's 2 hours. The reason I do that is because if I just say I'm going to go for a walk, I will walk for 10 minutes and then convince myself there is work I need to do back home, turn around and come to my desk. But when I walk around the whole lake, I get halfway and I might as well just keep going. Okay. And it takes me 2 hours. During that, I might be sending voice messages to Lauren, and Lauren will say, "You're on your walk. I don't want to bother you anymore," because she knows my best creative ideas don't come when I have my nose to the grindstone. My best creative ideas come when I was on a backpacking trip for 3 days, no Wi-Fi with my friend Stephanie this weekend, when I take time off, when I step away. And for a lot of us, the stepping away is the hardest part. So to have someone who will encourage you in that and not be in any way pouty because like they're doing work and you're walking around a beautiful lake, but they know that their way of supporting you is to do that so that you can have the next great idea that's going to bring in tens of thousands of dollars, and they're going to get to go on a trip to Banff with their partner, right? Lauren and Vicky actually can't come this time, but she's like, oh my gosh, retreats. How do we make retreats happen? Because this is going to be so fun for all of us, right? And that's the culture that I want in a business, is like all boats float. When things are going well for me, they're going well for my team, and it's exciting for all of us. Another thing that Lauren does for me is I asked her way back to only book a max of 2 Zoom meetings a day. And she holds that boundary really strong for me. if I was making my schedule, I would have like 5 or 6 Zoom meetings a day, and I would just be like, I can do it. Yes, I can. But I've been noticing how fried I feel on the inside when I get off in between those calls, because on the call, I'm always so energized, but I've been noticing how I feel in between. And she said to me last week, when was the last time you took a Wednesday off? Can I start clearing your schedules on Wednesdays again so that you're just working, taking meetings just 4 days a week instead of 5? And I was like, thank you so much, because that's not something I would have cleared out myself, especially with new projects on the horizon and new things coming in. So someone who will hold that boundaries and those boundaries in a really loving way for you that's priceless, I think.
I have a lot less day-to-day interaction with Claudia. We usually have a meeting at the beginning of the month where we check in on the tasks she has been doing. And then if there's anything extra I would like her to add this month. Every now and then I'll make a loom, or I'll say, hey, can you please connect with Lauren? There's this thing for the Writer's Bridge that I need you to learn how to do. And Lauren already knows how to do it, so go learn it from her. And pretty much Claudia kind of ticks along in the background and makes stuff happen, and I can just kind of set it, and then while thinking fondly of Claudia, I can set it and forget it, as they say. Ingrid asks in the chat, would VAs be good for researching avenues to market books or grow offerings, or is that more of a PR person? Claudia, Lauren, where do you fall on research?
I'll do research tasks. That was something I had as like a part of my tasks in my one sheet when I was like a baby VA, and I left it just because I'm never going to claim to know how to do everything. So I feel like by default, you end up doing research anyway. Like there's times Ashley's like, hey, like I actually for the Facebook group, she was like, is there a way, I think there's a way to get Zoom to live stream through Facebook. And I'm like, I'm sure there is. I just never did it. And I figured it out and we did it. There was like a small hiccup with like settings or whatever, but we did it. So like, there's always going to have to be research involved. I feel like I've done bigger research tasks. But I feel like even the day-to-day, like a lot of the time there can be small research just because there's always a new platform. There's always a new setting. Like even Ashley said, WordPress changes like every day for whatever reason. So there's always something new to learn. So I just keep research on my thing because it's something I know I'm always going to have to utilize anyway.
My assistant, Gina, too, what I had her do before Swing came out was research bookstagrammers who she thought would be a great match for Swing. And she came up with a great list of diverse bookstagrammers. And then I had her reach out to them. She's not good at pitching. So like figuring out what things don't really work too. So if she could get me the list, then I could write a pitch, then she could have done it. So just figuring out where people are strong. Like Gina too, super strong. She can caption 6 or 12 reels in like, I swear, like 30 minutes. She's so fast. Yeah. And she has 2 little kids. So she does things that don't have like a strict timeline. Whereas Lauren, if we talk about a regular day, Lauren, right? Do you go into my email first, then DMs, then comments? What is kind of the routine with that?
Yeah. So normally, again, today's weird. But normally I'll like your emails, like one of the first things I do, I'll wake up, I'll check my email. Cause usually, I don't know, everyone works at night, I guess for some reason, I always get like a flood of emails in the middle of the night. So I check my email by like 9:30, I'm in Ashley's email, then her DMs. And then I'll check like her personal DMs, her comments on TikTok, stuff like that. And then usually there's just like, if there already isn't tasks from the next day that are rolled over or that have been assigned like later in the day, then usually like I talk to Ashley like after I get settled and there's stuff that like I know needs to get done or stuff that we discussed last week that needs to be done this week. So I'll bring it up. Like there's always new tasks, but like those are my like first thing I do, check off the list, like initial tasks that I do for her.
Yeah, the recurring like every day more DMs or more comments just have to be. And what she does when she looks through the comments is she sees if there's anything that like any block and deletes that need to happen, really. You know, she doesn't respond to every comment, but she does respond to every DM. Sometimes she'll respond to DMs, like if people wish me happy birthday, she'll go, thank you. But a lot of the time she will say, hey, this is Ashley's assistant, Lauren, here's the link for such and such. So it's not really like she's like pretending to be me, but sometimes when it's just like a thanks, quick response. And in my DMs, because Instagram DMs are my busiest area, I have some conversations flagged who are like really close friends or colleagues or family members who like, then I just deal with those DMs and Lauren doesn't go into them if there's an unread.
So Ashley, you are still personally answering some DMs. Lauren is answering DMs that fit within. We know that we hear this comment a lot and it always needs this answer. We hear this question a lot and it always needs this answer. Kimberly asks in the chat, is there like a percentage of social media posts or comments or DMs that come from you or that come from Lauren? How do you decide which ones?
I post everything myself, even though Lauren has the passwords. I find that the Meta platforms and TikTok actually, so Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, when Lauren or Gina posts a reel for me, my reach is down absolutely every single time. I think all these platforms know from the IP address if it's the primary account holder or an additional person posting. And every time I just laugh that we keep trying it sometimes, but it just isn't worth it. If I spend any amount of time making something, and in this example, right, maybe I batched 6 or 12 reels and then Gina captioned them late at night when she's nursing her baby, I want as many people to see that as possible. So I post everything myself. I write every caption myself. It's only Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube where Lauren will cross-post things automatically because I don't really pay attention to the metrics there. If the reach is down, I don't know. Those are all like bonus platforms for me.
So my platform is driven a lot less by social media. I have a lot of personal interactions on social media, but I don't do a lot of broadcasting of advice the way Ashley does. Ashley is very much speaking to large groups of people all the time, and I'm more likely to be speaking to small groups of people or one-on-one. So I actually have Claudia added as an authorized person in my Meta platform, and maybe the reach does go down when she posts for Brevity or she posts for Rebirth Your Book, which is my retreats business, but I don't actually care because it's not the primary driver of how I reach my clients. Whereas for Ashley, it's much more primary.
It is. And what Lauren will do each day is like, she'll send me a little list of people in the DMs who need a personal answer from me. So if somebody comes and they say, hey, I have this question about my partner, or you gave us advice like in May, and I just want you to know this is what's happening, and this is my next question. She'll say, hey, this is Ashley's assistant, Lauren. I'm forwarding this to Ashley so she can get back to you. And then I come in, and quite often they're like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Then I come in, an hour later, and I send them a voice memo, like reflecting back what they said. Like my contact with my audience is so important to me, and letting someone else into my DMs to answer was kind of uncomfortable. I didn't know how I was going to handle that, but Lauren and I have really fallen into a good system where my audience still feels connected to me. I feel connected to them, but I don't have to wade through 100 or 200 DMs a day. I just want to be walking around the lake.
Claudia and Lauren, you guys want to add anything new in there?
I think Ashley pinpointed it pretty well. I guess as far as like DMs go, like she pretty much hit the nail on the head. We have a good system down. Since the Keeping It Hot Facebook group, when I was in there, like helping her when she was live for the first week, and then on the weekend I wasn't there, but whatever. They got to like know who I was a little bit. So I did notice there were maybe one or two specific like call outs for me. And I just thought that was cool. And I was like, oh, like, I'm here for you too. Like, yay. Cause I just want to support her. And I like her. I love her audience too, because I'm in there and I see the problems that they have. And like, I just feel connected to them through her, I guess. So it was nice. That's all.
And with having a VA who's in the DMs, answering emails from my email newsletter, she understands what makes my audience tick, and she understands what makes me tick and why I keep making content, why I keep connecting with people on these topics. So her ability to make decisions, and also when I'm bouncing back and forth between ideas to help guide me, well, this is something that you really love. This is something that's always easy for you. What if you did this? It's like, she's more than just an assistant. She's really a sounding board, and someone who helps me make sure that I'm in integrity in the steps that I take.
Claudia, sometimes you're me on social media. How does that go? How does that feel?
It was definitely a learning at the start, and I would say that I was a little bit nervous. Um, but you get the hang of it, and you, like Ashley and Lauren were saying, that you learn what the audience is like, what makes everyone tick. You learn, what Alison would say, and everything like that. And yeah, you learn as you go.
I want to give an example of a really simple task that has helped me immensely on social media lately, which is that Twitter has a native scheduling function. And I have had Claudia and also a previous VA go through all of my old blog posts, everything I have ever written that has been posted online, anytime I've been on a podcast, anytime I've been interviewed. And she pulls a quote and then schedules it as a tweet with the link. And just having that like bed of tweets laid down so that there's something coming from my account 5 days a week, and then I also get on Twitter myself and interact, I have seen a lot of growth on Twitter. I've probably gotten another 2,000 followers in the last like 3-4 months just from having regular stuff. The other thing she does is a lot of those tweets are from the Brevity blog because I blog there regularly. So she goes back in and she changes my Brevity bio to what I'm selling now. So if we've got like 6 blogs scheduled for next week and what I'm really selling is Memoir Bootcamp right now, she goes back and she updates the bio information at the bottom of the blogs. And that's something that any space that you are able to log in and change it yourself, even if you don't get an assistant to do it, setting up those regular tweets or Facebook posts of stuff you have already written, because we've said it many times before, most of your audience will not see most of what you post. So post it again. You are not wearing out your welcome. What do you see, Claudia and Lauren, what do you see people doing that sabotages their own workflow? Do you see any bad habits that we can fix? Claudia, how about you?
Procrastination is a biggie. Just putting things off until the last minute is really killing people. And not having a clear idea of your everyday, what each day is going to look like, prioritizing at the start of the day, planning out. It sort of seems a bit boring and a bit, nerdy or whatever, but it is so essential. It's what I do as well for my own business. And I would be lost without it. So,
Lauren, what kind of self-sabotage do you see people doing?
I thought of myself immediately, so I'm trying to think of other people. So I guess I want to say like the biggest thing is emergencies. I say with quotes because like I came from healthcare, so like, so like doing things like super last minute. I don't say this in regards to Ashley because again, our relationship is different because of how many hours I have with her. So quicker turnaround times and like day of assignments is like typical with us, but like generally speaking for my clients who are on like a normal retainer package, having emergencies or like day of, hour of turnaround times, they're not normally feasible. And if they are, they come out usually not great because my rushing brain and my prepared brain are 2 different people. Ashley's seen it when I was sick with COVID. They're basically the same person, COVID Lauren and like emergency Lauren, because like I just can't think. So, and not only that, it's not only bad for me, it's bad for the client also, because if they're always in this state of panic, then it's going to eventually, if it hasn't already, affect their business too. So one of the first things I like to do is try to help get my clients on like a schedule. If like, whether it's posting or checking, whatever it is, I try to at least like to get like a week out with stuff. And again, that's generally speaking.
It's really helped me a lot that I have to sit down at the beginning of the month with Claudia and go, okay, this is what I'd like to accomplish this month. It makes me cut some of my procrastination because I have to get stuff done so that Claudia has stuff to work with. I can't do, if I want a freebie formatted, I can't write the freebie at the last minute. I need to write it early enough that Claudia can then format it and get it back to me. Ashley, what's a bad habit for you that's been fixed by working with an assistant?
Yeah, well, I changed my mind a lot, which is a superpower and a form of self-sabotage. So working with an assistant who is accountable to me and I'm accountable to helps me check in and say, okay, wait a minute. Am I shifting from this because it really doesn't feel like it's in alignment, or because it's starting to scare the shit out of me and I need to lean into it more? And being open with Lauren about, okay, like this is super scary is helpful to me, because I was a performer and I trained performers my whole life. So I can do anything and not look scared, but having someone who knows how scared I feel and then can like give me encouragement after my first live Zoom in the Facebook challenge group and was like, you hit it out of the park. That's amazing. Like, oh my God. Like I would pay just for that, just for the cheerleader. So just having the person, get the kind of support you need. For me, so much of it is mental. And I really love digging in and learning new things. So like everything Lauren does for me, I could do myself, but getting to a point where we say, okay, what is really the best for my future books? What is the best for future creative projects in my business? That is me having some creative space where I get to just, new ideas will come up and fill it. So taking a lot of, and I mean, the DMs and the emails, it's a lot that I receive every day. So having somebody handling that is such a gift.
Love that. Absolutely love that. In just a moment, we're going to have our top tips for what you can save time to do, what you can do that will save you time. I also want to let you know that when you get the replay, feel free to forward this to a writer friend who you would love to have see it. And I also invite you to join us in 2 weeks with Susan DeFreitas, who works with novelists writing for social impact and social change. And with Susan, we're going to be talking about setting and fulfilling your mission and writing for good in the world, which I am super, super excited to hear about. Lauren, what's one thing we can do today to have more time, to have more space in our lives?
So I guess the first thing would be to automate what you can, but the other would be to just start taking note of things, even if they're small and reoccurring, that take up a lot of space for you, that you can offhand to someone else that wouldn't really shake you. Because I know at first there can be a lot of like nervousness handing off like your baby, your business that you created to someone else. But if you start with smaller, simpler, reoccurring tasks, it might help put you at ease in the beginning so that you can kind of gain that trust and then build upon that for bigger tasks.
Thanks, Lauren. Claudia, what should we do? What's your top tip?
I second Lauren. I would say definitely keep a track of those little niggly tasks that you could delegate. And another thing is a task management. It will change your life.
What do you use for that, Claudia?
So for my own business, I use ClickUp. For a different client, I use Monday.com. For Allison, I use Notion. So a bit of everything. Yeah.
And Claudia, I'm going to throw a task on your list right now, which is Rachel asks in the chat, can we get captions in the breakout rooms? And Claudia, will you please research, is it possible to get Zoom captions in breakout rooms, and come back to me on that?
Absolutely.
My top tip for today is, even if hiring an ongoing assistant isn't right for you, sit down for an hour with a professional and ask them what you can do to automate either more of your platform building so that you have time for writing, or more of your regular life so that you have time for writing. If you can afford it, you can even pay them to set those things up for you. And investing in 4 hours of an assistant's time could give you 4 hours every month to do more of what you care about. Ashley, what's your top tip?
My top tip is to pay attention to what procrastination is teaching you. A lot of us just assume that it is showing us that we are lazy, inefficient humans who can't get done in this lifetime what we want to get done. Let's take a look at why we are not doing those things. We will never have time for the things we don't want to do. So ask yourself, is it not in alignment? Should I have not have committed to that? What is it? Do I need more time to come up with the creative idea around that? Instead of just having a to-do list, take a look at the why am I not doing this part of the list? And it could be that some of the things are things that you never intend on doing. Take them off your list then. Permission granted.
Absolutely. Claudia, go ahead and drop your link in the chat, and we're also going to send it out in the follow-up email. And I just want to remind everybody, it is okay whether you need an assistant or an intern or a social media automation plan, or whether you just need to set aside a week to bang out focused platform or writing tasks. Every time you set aside a task that you don't have to personally do, you have more time to do the things that only you can do, and more brain power and more energy to do them with. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to hire help. It's okay to decide that you're going to stop doing some things. You got to give yourself the space to do your real work, because your real work deserves it. Feel free to unmute yourselves for a joyful goodbye. Happy writing, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
This is fantastic.